person. It's a role that I'm very humbled to hold, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, Part 2 of the bill is where many of the substantive amendments are being made. And this is the part of the bill which extends the government's anti-democratic and draconian protest ban, which they passed into law a mere few weeks ago. And here we are, not 2 months later, extending it even further than the original bill suggested. Because the original Crown Minerals Amendment Bill, which was passed a mere few weeks ago, had the definition of offshore area as, quote, means any area within the territorial sea or exclusive economic zone that is on or above the continental shelf. So what that means is that wherever the continental shelf exists, the areas of the territorial sea and the exclusive economic zone that sit above that, that is where this draconian new anti-protest law applies. So the change that's being made under Section 14 of Part 2 is that is being amended so that the definition of offshore area now means any area that is A, within the territorial sea, B, within the exclusive economic zone, or C, on or above the continental shelf. So what we're seeing is a rapid expansion of this utterly repugnant law out into the high seas and right up to the beaches. So between the beaches of New Zealand and the high seas, where we actually don't have the ability to pass laws but we're doing it anyway, we will see a ban on protest vessels protesting against deep sea oil and gas exploration, deep sea oil and gas exploration. And when the original ban was passed, it was the Minister in the chair, and he's never answered this question, so I welcome him. He's been sitting there like a dried arrangement all night. I welcome him to get on his pins and to actually take a call, because he never answered this question during the committee stages of the last bill, so maybe he's prepared to answer it tonight. If it's about safety, then why did he simply not introduce a bill that extends the Maritime Transport Act and the Crimes Act, which deals with dangerous and reckless behaviour by vessels in our territorial waters, into the exclusive economic zone? Why did he not do it like that? Because at the moment, anyone who behaves in a dangerous or reckless manner in our territorial waters is committing an offence. And it's quite appropriate that that offence be extended to the exclusive economic zone. So why, Minister, have you not done that? Why is it that instead of saying that anyone who behaves in a dangerous or reckless manner deserves to be held to account for that, why have you said it's only protest vessels, and it's only protest vessels that are protesting against oil and gas exploration? I welcome an answer to that question, Minister, and I believe the fact that you can't answer the question shows that you have no answer for it. There is no legitimate reason why you wouldn't extend the existing law out into the exclusive economic zone, Mr. Chair, why one would not do that. So here we have a ridiculous law, and I'm glad the Attorney-General's come down to the House. He came down to the House when we passed the original law and tried to pretend that he had a Bill of Rights opinion, which it turned out he didn't have. When we asked him to table it, it turned out it was just his opinion and it wasn't a particularly good one. I'm disappointed the Honourable Tim Grosser isn't still here, a man with an international reputation, a man who knows about international law. I mean, Chris Finlay said it would be good if he could take a call. He's kind of the poor man's Tim Grosser, but he's the Attorney-General, and we'd be welcome to hear if he has an actual legal opinion on this. Because the issue that we have, Mr. Attorney-General, who is meant to be the protector of the Bill of Rights in this country, the problem that we have is that there's been no Bill of Rights yet, we've had no legal opinion on whether this complies with international law, and there is no regulatory impact statement. So how is Parliament supposed to be able to make a considered decision on whether or not this is good lawmaking? And I'll point out a particular issue, which is that according to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade, we don't have the right to make laws in the waters above the continental shelf. That's the high seas. And they actually specifically say and refer to as an example that we don't have the right to make laws that monitor shipping or that regulate shipping activities. Well, what is a protest vessel protesting in the high seas if it's not a shipping activity? And the Ministry of Foreign Affairs website clearly states that we do not have the jurisdiction in this Parliament to pass those kind of laws in the waters above the continental shelf. So I'd like to hear an answer to that from the Minister in the chair, and from the Attorney-General as to how come MFAT is saying one thing, telling us that we have, Mr Chair.
The Honourable Member, Moana Maki.
Thank you. How is it that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is telling us one thing, which is that we don't have the rights to make laws in this area, and the Minister is telling us another thing? He's passing a law which opens us up for potential legal challenge, which actually makes us look like idiots if we think that we're passing. Well, the Minister's shaking his head. Get up and take a call for once. That's what we pay you the big bucks for, Minister. Get up and take a call. People deserve to have an answer to those questions, and if the Minister doesn't want to answer them, that's because he doesn't have the answers. That's because he doesn't know what he's doing, and we know that because it's because of his incompetence that we're having to pass this bill in the first place. The previous bill hasn't even come into force yet, and we're already having to fix it. That's extraordinary. But the Minister needs to answer the questions that he refused to answer in the original bill, and that he hasn't answered under Section 14 of this piece of legislation. And I have two SOPs in my name on this part, Mr Chair. And one is to delete Clause 14, because I do not believe that we should be extending what is a rotten, repugnant law out into the high seas where we actually don't have the jurisdiction to do it, or right into the beaches of New Zealand, just because the Minister doesn't like the fact that a large number of New Zealanders disagree with the way his government has handled the very sensitive issue of deep-sea drilling. And let's be clear, it's this government's handling of this issue that is the problem. It's because they haven't listened to communities, it's because they've watered down legislation, it's because they don't front up in those communities to answer questions about why communities are having this foisted upon them when they feel nervous about it, when they don't understand it. That's why there is so much concern. That's why people are taking to protest, because the government won't listen to them. The government won't talk to them and the government won't answer their questions. So that's why we're seeing Section 14 of this bill coming into force, which is saying, well, you don't like it, you're protesting, well, we're just going to legislate away your right to do that. And that is utterly appalling. Utterly appalling, and the National Party should hang their head in shame, particularly the Attorney-General, who's meant to be the protector of the Bill of Rights in this country. What a joke. What a joke. How can he even sit in this House when such a repugnant piece of legislation that is so contrary to the Bill of Rights is going through? Oh, venom. Oh, hello. Wafer thin ice, Mr Finlayson. Wafer thin ice. Wow. Anyway, the second supplementary order paper in my name is actually to amend Clause 14 so that the definition of offshore area is simply limited to within the territorial seas. So to reduce that area down there as well. And whilst, I hope the SOPs are passed, the reality is neither of them actually fix the basic problem, which is that we need to get rid of the clause that is in the original legislation. Because what happens now, and again, the Attorney-General might have an opinion on this, the Minister is pretending to read something, so he's not listening, but another question is, we now have two separate offence regimes, penalty regimes in our territorial waters. We now have two different regimes, one under the Maritime Transport Act and Crimes Act, and one under this new Section 14. So which one are the police going to apply when someone makes a complaint or says that someone is breaking the law in terms of this right to protest? Because we now have two offence regimes in our territorial waters. Which one applies, Minister? Minister? Hello? There's only so long you can ignore me for. We're not going away, Minister. Which one applies? Because we now have the ridiculous position of having two completely different penalty and offence regimes in the same area of water. Why is that? Which one are the police supposed to apply? Do they just get to pick? Do we flip a coin? Is it a lottery? Is there some kind of algorithm the Minister has that can work out? Sky City can sort it out. It's probably part of their deal. But how are we meant to know? How are the people who are operating meant to know which penalty regime is going to apply? Did the Minister even know that this was going to result in two completely separate offence and penalty regimes in the same part of the ocean? No, he didn't. And we'll be back here in another few weeks passing another amendment bill to the Crime Minerals Amendment Bill, Amendment Act, Amendment Bill, because the Minister hasn't done the work. and the Minister doesn't know the detail of this bill that we're passing, and that's why this should have gone to a select committee. So those are my questions to the Minister. I would appreciate some answers.
I call the honourable member Grant Robertson.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.